Hey, what's up, everyone? CP Stats. This is Mr. Green here with another video. This time we're going to be talking about reading textbooks. So your homework tonight is to read section 1.7. We intended on giving you kind of a little tutorial on how to read a textbook because when we just tell you to read the textbook, chances are you're just going to go through it and read it like a novel, right? Like you're going to read every single sentence and it's going to take you forever. That's not what we want you to do. So I'm going to give you some tips on how I approach a textbook, and how we can maybe save some time and make more effective use of our time going through the textbook. So I'm using 1.6 as an example. You guys are doing 1.7 tonight, so I'm just using 1.6 as an example. So the first thing that we see when we come into the chapter here is it says learning targets right here. This is a good thing to look at. This is telling you what we're actually trying to learn in this section. So first thing we should look at is the it's basically a summary. This is telling you what we're looking for. This is telling us what to keep an eye out for throughout the rest of the section. So I kind of came up with an analogy, like a cooking analogy. So when you're looking for a recipe online, some of you will know this, but when you're looking for a recipe online, a lot of the times you find a recipe, but the person who wrote the recipe like decided to tell their whole life story like ahead of time before you even get to the recipe, and you're like, oh man, I got to sift through this life the whole life story of this person. I just want the recipe. I just want to cook my food already. That's kind of what's going on with the textbook. It's giving you all this additional information that might not be exactly what you need. We want to be able to extract that recipe out there and leave the life story for somebody else to read, right? So when we're going through the textbook, I think the number one thing we want to look at is definitely the title of all the sections, right? So for this section right here, this is the median. If we're scrolling through, let's look for some other titles. Oh, here's the title for the mean. So we want to look out for that. Looking for some more titles. Oh, comparing the mean and the median. That might be something. Scrolling through, scrolling through. Okay. So we got our titles. That's fine. All right. So we know what this chapter is going to be about now. We just looked at the titles. We didn't even look at anything else yet. We know we're going to look at the median. We know we're going to look at the mean right here. And then we're going to compare the two. Okay. So that's cool. So let's go back to this first section here. What is a median? Oh, look at that. There's a definition. So definitions are the next thing we want to look out for. Big time want to look out for these definitions, and they tend to be in these boxes like this. So they're even, I put a square around it just to show you, but they put it in a box themselves. So they're telling you that this is what you want to look at. So this is the recipe right here. The definition is like this is what we want to extract out of these chapters. What is a median? It tells us right here. A good tip here is so we read the definition and maybe we don't understand it the first time. Read it again. We'll read it a few times. Definitions are super important, so we want to make sure we understand. And my tip would be to take that definition that you read and to put it into your own words, as part of your notes for when you're reading through the textbook. Put it into your own words. What is a median? A median is it's the middle of a distribution. It's the middle number. It's whatever, however you understand it. I think it's a good idea for you to put it into your own words. What a median is, because if you just copy this word for word, I mean, you could always just come back to the textbook and read it word for word. There's not really a point in rewriting what they're already saying. So that's one tip for you on the definitions. Um, so what we see next is an example. Examples are just there if you need them. If you feel like you got enough in class, if we talked enough about the median in class and showed you enough examples that you don't need to see another one, that you're good with it, that's fine. Skip the examples. So look at that. There's two examples that we can skip because we feel comfortable with it already. Now, on the other hand, if what we did in class didn't make sense to you, or you feel like you need more to understand what a median is, then that's what the examples are there for. They're there for you to when you're not so sure about what's going on. So they're just kind of extra information for you. You can either take it or leave it. So here in the next section, oh, look at that, another definition. Definitely want to look at this, read it a couple times, make sure you understand it. And once you understand it, you should be able to put it into your own words. What does it mean? It's the average. It's, maybe some of you will put the sum of all data values divided by the number of data values. That's fine too. So whatever makes sense to you, I would encourage you to write it into your own words. And again, here's an example. Maybe you are fine with what we did in class and you understand it. So boom, let's skip the examples. Oh, here's another definition, resistant. Again, read it a couple times. If you don't understand it, you know, uh, read it multiple times. And so we're scrolling through. We're good with resistant. It doesn't give us any examples for resistant. It doesn't look like. So the next thing, it gives us an activity. This is another thing. This is, here for you to take it or leave it. It's not super important that you go through this activity in the chapter. I think this is more for uh, teachers. If we want to pull this activity and we kind of give this activity to y'all, you could read through it. You could try it if you want. If you really feel like you need that extra practice, that's what the textbook's all about. It's there to give you more than what you need. And effective use of your time is to take exactly what you need, not take everything. Otherwise, you're going to be spending 45 minutes trying to read your textbook tonight, and that's not what we want you to do. Next section, comparing mean and median. So this is good, right? Because at first it's kind of confusing. What's a mean? What's a median? What's the difference? That's what this section's all about, to hopefully clarify those confusions for you. So, and again, I mean, if you know the difference between mean and median, you can skip this section too, right? Because the definitions are really, that's the meat, that's the recipe of the chapter. So that's kind of what we want you to take away from this, is that we're just targeting that recipe. If you are good, you read the definitions, you understand them, and that's all there is in the section, then you're good. Take a note and be happy that you understand what's going on. And if you read those definitions and you don't quite understand, then go ahead and read the examples and work through it, and hopefully that'll clarify things for you. So your homework tonight is to go through section 1.7 and kind of do this. Just look, and take what you need and leave what you don't need. Take some notes, write those definitions into your own words, and that way when you show up to class tomorrow and we give you a reading quiz, you will be ready. So I hope this video helps, and we'll see you tomorrow.